How about that funky intro?
I love that funky intro.
Welcome to Book Crew. My name is Dirk Cooper, and I'm joined as always by writer and editor extraordinaire, Beth A. Fraley.
Hey guys.
How's everyone doing today?
So far, so good. Been a crazy couple of months all around.
Yeah, before we get into anything else, let's just say that I was sick. I literally got sick with 3 things in a row. I don't even go into it, but it basically it affected my throat, and I can't do podcasts if my throat, I would talk to people on the phone, and 2 minutes after I started talking, it's like I gotta stop. I'm either going to cough or whatever. I'm going to lose my voice.
It you down for a while. You were miserable.
And then in addition to that, once you're sick for about a month, I was sick for about 5 weeks with, like I said, 3 different things that hit me in succession. And then after you're kind of either working on half speed or no speed for 5 weeks, then I'm behind for 5 weeks, then I'm behind on everything that I had to do. So then I had to do all of that. And so that's the reason why we didn't get that second episode out until now.
Hey, it's all good. We got this.
And it was Beth who contacted me and said, hey, that story that you talked about where men are into romance novels, that's definitely the thing that we should be talking about next. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, we have 86 projects that we have to go through to get caught up on all the things that Beth has released since the beginning of the year.
Not quite 86.
Okay, maybe 85.
80. 85. All right, we'll go with 85.
So I am going to throw these things up here, and I'm just going to throw it to you and let you talk about it. And the first one, let's see if I can do this correctly. The first one is Realm Queens. Let's talk about that.
Realm Queens. Oh yeah, this was fun. So this was a all-female motorcycle club paranormal romance anthology. That's the easiest way to say it.
I think you hit all the
hit all the tropes.
Yes, you did. You nailed them all in one book.
And mine, my story is the Kiss of the Crimson Valkyrie. My book is my story is The Kiss of the Crimson Valkyrie, and it is my first full-length vampire story. Yeah, she's a vampire. And she's the president of the Crimson Valkyries, and the story takes place in Arizona, about 50 miles outside of Phoenix. So it was a fun little story to write. I enjoyed it. It's not as fleshed out as I would like it to have been because it is an anthology piece. So once that is done with its 6-month run, I'm going to take it, blow the story out the rest of the way, and it will be the first book in what I'm hoping is a shared world series with a couple of friends of mine. All different characters who are part of the Crimson Valkyrie, motorcycle club, all vampires, all chicks.
That's cool. Who are the people that you're doing this with? This book.
The series or this particular one?
This is I warned you that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
She's right here. You can't see her. She's right below she's right below the camera. You can see the top of her little ears.
I can see the top of her ears flickering. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. So one of my cover artists, Stephanie, and I were talking about actually starting a website where we offer share world series where they can write, a book in a shared world series, similar to what I've been doing the last year with some of my shared world series. And the Crimson Valkyries is actually would be the third series that we would toss up, and authors who are interested in writing in the series can choose the cover or whatever, and or choose an idea and run with the story. But these ladies here, who I did Realm Queens with, and I don't see Angel's name on there. Angel Nix is who I got involved in with this series. Her name's probably on there somewhere. But we had a lot of fun, this group and I, writing this. So yeah, so that's the Realm Queens.
I do not have the link to that, but if anywhere that you see this, I will have the links to all of the things that we talk about here. There'll be, I mean, now we only have 84 to go through, so but
Only 84.
I will have the links to all of those and the info for wherever I place this. It'll be YouTube and a bunch of other places.
And a bunch of other places, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, so there's Realm Queens. Where's that available at?
Amazon. That is all on Amazon.
Yeah, that's a good place.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right. So next we have Texas Heat. Let's talk about that.
Texas Heat. Texas Heat is book number 2 that I put out this year. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, Best for You is book number 1. I put that out earlier in January, and then Love for You came out towards the end of January.
Oh, so
I
didn't even realize that. You've got 2 books in this series.
I got 2 put them out within 2 weeks of each other.
Oh, my that is insane.
Yeah. A little crazy. But this entire series is a lot of fun. These all take place in small town Texas. Spicy range between 3 and 5.
Okay. What is yours?
Excuse me. Mine is a 3. Both of mine are 3s. I can write super spicy. The Realm Queens is probably a little more spicier than those 2. But mine is a pretty solid 3.
Cool. And so you have 2 books. You said they were released 2 weeks apart?
One was released January 9th, and one was released January 28th.
What the heck?
Yeah, I know.
That is crazy.
When I signed up to write 2 in that series, I didn't think she was going to put them that close together, but she did. So I was like,
that might be a great strategy. I mean, if someone likes one, my mom is a prodigious reader, and she can go through. I mean, there are times when she go through a book a day. So
yeah, and those 2
and
are.
If they find if people who can read very fast find an author they like, they want to go right next to the next book by that writer. So yeah. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything.
Oh,
I mean, it's not a bad strategy to have it out quickly.
And it's definitely, I started working on them September of last year. But to make sure it's the way I wanted it, and, the story's tight and everything, man, I do that like right up to the last minute, just because that's just me. But I'm really kind of happy that these 2 came out. Yeah, the covers are fun.
Whoever did those did a good job.
Now, I'm not sure who she had do them. The ebooks are available on Amazon. Once I get the paperback covers, though, they'll be available wide. And then there's a follow-up series to Texas Heat. It's called Texas Nights. So for those of you who like to read books, that take place like in the same town or like with family members, the book that I'm doing for the Texas Night Shared World series is about the brother from Best for You, the one I released at the beginning of January.
Yeah. I
didn't plan it that way when I originally sat down and thought about it, but it just kind of came together, and I'm like, yeah, this works.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
I suppose.
So that's 2 books.
That's 2.
And let's see. Let me see if I can find that last little thing here. Here it is. And then we have this.
And
Global
then we have
Beasts
this.
or The Waters of Ryujin, right?
That one
Okay,
was mine.
tell us what that is.
Okay, so Global Beast, like the sign says, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Someone posted a video that they saw of different beasts from different countries. It was an AI video, but it prompted the thought, what if, it prompted the what if scenario. And I was approached and said, hey, would you be interested in writing in this? And I'm like, oh, well, let me look and see what we've got here. And some of the countries include Egypt, Germany, Russia. And so, like for Egypt, it was a jackal. Germany, I don't remember what Germany's was, but Russia was a bear. Another one was a lion and everything. And Japan in this video was a dragon. And I'm going, I want to write Japan. So my beast in the waters of the Ryujin is a water dragon. He's a Ryujin.
That's cool.
It lets me go play with the samurai and everything, because these stories are all taking place in the 1700s, between 1700 and 1799.
Okay.
So that is right smack dab in the middle of the shogunate.
Yeah.
My story starts in 1680 with the fifth shogunate, who is known as the Dog Shogun. And like I said, the story itself, the prologue starts in 1680. The story itself starts 100 years later. Like I said, in the middle of Shogun Japan with samurai and the whole nine yards.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
I've been doing a little rewatching of Shogun. And then Dan, ever being the fan of Japanese literature and stuff, has let me borrow his one of his books. This is by Miyamoto Musashi.
Oh, the book. Yeah, I have that.
Yeah, the Book of Five Rings. So this one he's letting me borrow, and The Way of the Samurai. And then he's got a sword fighting book that he's letting me.
I have The Way of the Samurai too.
Mm-hmm. He was like, look, if you're going to write this, and I'm like, give me all the material.
Yeah.
But you might be bored. No, it's research. I won't be bored. Give me.
I just read
because I'm a stickler for that.
I just read a biography on Miyamoto Musashi.
Mm-hmm. He's such an interesting character in Japanese history. He really is.
My fascination with him goes back to when I was a little kid, because I was into samurai and stuff, and I took one of his quotes and wrote it on a piece of artwork that I did.
Nice.
And so I've kind of followed him ever since. And then more recently, they have an anime with him called Onimusha.
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
And the idea is it's fictional, but it has, and Musashi was a real dude. But in this fictional account, he's fighting demons and stuff, which is very much up my alley. And they're about to come out with a video game with the same name.
Oh, cool.
And Miyamoto Musashi is the look of Musashi is Toshiro Mifune, who was a big Japanese actor back during the 50s and 60s, who did some of the stuff with Akira Kurosawa and that crowd and stuff. So anyway, you got me on a favorite subject.
Well, and here's the funny thing:
Musashi.
when I was planning this out, and I started doing the research and everything, and I was like, you know what, I want to go back and rewatch Shogun. So one of my favorite actors is actually in Shogun, and that's Hiroyuki Sanada. I absolutely love Hiroyuki Sanada. Right. And so in my head, my character, my samurai, my Ryujin, he looks like a young Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yeah.
which makes it a lot easier to write.
Yeah, you taught
But
me how to do that because you mentioned that on something else, how you cast your roles, and
mhm,
I think that's a good strategy for people looking to write stuff. If you can cast your role, it will do it will do wonders for you in
mhm.
describing them and getting kind of a you know a pattern of speech and a way
Pattern of speech, pattern of movements,
to
how they move, how they, all of that. I mean, and one of the things that I
yeah, it's
love,
kind of baked in.
um, yeah. So I hadn't watched The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise in years. It had been a real long time
Yeah,
since I
holy
watched
cow,
it.
yeah, that's been a while.
Which, of course, Hiroyuki Sanada is in that, and you actually get to see him do some fighting and some sword work in that movie with Tom Cruise, and that right there, especially for me, the way I write, that right there is such a visual. It makes it so much easier for me to write my character, um, because he was a samurai. Um, and everything. And obviously, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, so he gets cursed, which is how he gets turned into the water dragon, and that's all I'm going to say about the story itself.
Yeah.
But being able to watch things like that, to see how he fights, to see how he moves, for anyone who's a Mortal Kombat fan, the most recent Mortal Kombat that came out, Hiroyuki Sanada is actually the one who plays Scorpion. So you get to watch him in that movie. Especially in the beginning of the movie, you get to see how he is with his family, with his children. And it's all of these little bits and pieces that makes it easy for me to put this character together. Now, the one thing I am going to say is this. We were talking about spice level on my books earlier. This book will not have a love scene. This story is not going to have a love scene. The more I work on it, the more I realize that for me, especially going into the historical aspects of Japan of shogunate Japan at that time, I cannot write a love scene for this book. That time period is very respectful. While we know some about it, we don't know a lot about it because it was still very closed in Japan at that time.
Mhm.
And for me, this book is going to be more about how the romance grows between my lead characters, how he finds his redemption, um, and just it's going to be more of the closed door kind of Hallmark romance, where it's more about the characters and the emotions than the actual physical aspect. It took me a little while to figure out how to vocalize that, because I said to the girls, I said, guys, I said, I can't write a love scene for this. And they're like, why? I said, it's feudal Japan. It's shogunate Japan. I said, it's the Japanese. I said, they're very respectful people. I mean, in Shogun, they call it pillowing in the first place. So I'm like, I just can't. And they're like, okay. They're like, you're fine. It's okay. You can write it without a love scene. It'll be good. I'm like, okay. I'm like, thank you. And of course, who kicks off the entire series? Me.
So how
So I
long do you have
apologize.
before this thing? How long
This
until this thing comes out?
this book is
What's
scheduled to come out September 16th, which is my
okay?
birthday.
Oh, cool.
So, and like I said, I'm kicking off the series. So, not only did I kind of make myself go, oh yeah, let's be first, I'm making myself go first without a love scene in what's supposed to be a romance series. Good job. Yay.
But it's also Beauty and the Beast, and I mean that's not known for whatever
Yes.
spicy love scenes.
Yes.
So
No, it's not. It's not.
so I think
Um,
you're in the ballpark there. You're in the wheelhouse on
yeah,
that
I'm in the wheelhouse
that
on this one.
project.
And plus, I won't tell you what they are, but there are some there will be Easter eggs in all of the books. So as you're reading, you're reading the stories, you'll pick up on some of the little Easter eggs that are in it. You know, every
Cool.
single one will have that Easter egg that kind of ties it all together. But yeah, so I wish I had the cover. She's still working on the cover for me.
What's that?
I wish I had the cover. She's still working on the cover for me.
Oh, I mean, it's, you know, my gosh, if it's going to come out in September, you know, you got a little time.
I got
you have a sign up form if people are interested in keeping up with that series, right?
Yes, there is a sign up form, so that sign up for the newsletters or whatever else she has on the form, so that you can keep a track of where we are with the series. Like I said, the first book comes out September 16th. I have the first book, so I can tell you when that series will launch, and it will be September 16th. So I can at least give you that much.
Also, you have a soundtrack. That's not for this, that's for something else.
No, that's for something else.
Okay. What is the soundtrack related to something we've talked about?
No, it's related to Forever Friends. I don't know if you got the let me see if I can get the cover for it. So last year, the end of last year, I was like stupid busy. And I did a charity anthology called it, right? What am I not? I did a charity anthology called Forever Friends. And it was to raise money for hold on a second here. I'm getting it. It was to raise money to help out the animal shelters and stuff in North Carolina and Tennessee that got hit.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I like that.
And I wrote a short story, which this is actually the very first vampire story I ever wrote. Let me see. Let me load it up here. Nope, that's not the right spot. So we can show everybody. But we actually had a soundtrack done for this by a lovely young lady by the name of Serafina Black, who donated her time to basically write songs for each of the stories. Okay, hold on here.
That's a crazy deal.
This is the book. So this is Forever Friends. There are all sorts of different little stories in it. Some are a little spicy. They're spicier than others. Mine is not spicy. It was just a fun little short story that I wrote about a vampire who goes and adopts 2 bearded dragons named Boo and Mushu. So, and the trials and tribulations of a 750-year-old nerdy vampire trying to raise 2 bearded dragons and not understanding that, no, honey, they're not going to grow wings and fly around your house. It's a little rom-com. It's a little meet cute rom-com on my part. But Serafina Black did she did a song for every single one of them. She donated her time to do it, and everything. And yeah, so there is an official soundtrack that goes with this book.
That is cool. I like that idea a lot. I've heard people compile stuff like you can. It's on Spotify, by the way. Again, I don't have the links for it. I will add all of the links for all of these things, wherever I post this. But I've heard people that compose not original music, but they will take songs from other things and say, "Here's the soundtrack for my book," and then they will post it on Spotify, and then give you a link to it and stuff, which is pretty cool, but not as cool as getting original.
It's all original.
That is cool.
It was really kind of fun to work with her because we basically filled out a form and we basically gave her the idea of what our story is about. what kind of sound we're looking for. So mine was kind of, all I could think of was like, think Friends, think the theme song to Friends, I'll be there for you, kind of, upbeat kind of pop sound, and everything. And so she came back with the lyrics, and I read the lyrics, and I was like, this is great, this is perfect. And then we got 30-second snippets of the song to get an idea of what it was going to sound like, and we could tell her yay or nay. And man, she hit it on the mark for mine. And I'm going to tell you what, you hear my song on this soundtrack, and it is an earworm. It will not go away. You're going to be humming it. I was humming it for days, just with the 30 seconds that she sent me. But this is kind of her jam. She does soundtracks for authors, and she does, similar to what we do with Audible, she does a shared royalty thing where she'll host it, she'll take care of all of the stuff, she does all the writing, all the music, all the stuff, and then if it sells, if a track sells, or if the whole album sells, the author gets a small percentage of the royalties. And I'm like, yeah, that works for me. I'm good with that. You're the one doing all the hard work. I will take the little bit that comes out of this if it helps get your name out there too. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I actually, she's actually working on a soundtrack for me for Beyond the Steps of Stone.
That is cool.
I can't wait to hear that.
Is it? Would we get copyright stricken if I played, 10 seconds of that?
Probably not. She'd probably enjoy it if you did.
You keep talking, and I'll see if I can make that happen. Because I
track is number 2 on there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me.
I approached her about doing the soundtrack for Beyond the Steps of Stone, and I told her, I said, I kind of want it more sci-fi movie soundtrack, symphonic kind of thing than really anything with a lot of lyrics. And she's like, well, that's going to be a challenge. She said, that's definitely something new for me to try. And I said, I have faith in you. I said, I think you can do it. So I sent her a little bit of information about, the characters, who the villain is. So I think right now it's going to be like a little 4-track EP kind of thing with a theme for Jericho and Morgan. There will be a theme for the Bordock or alien bad guys. And then like a theme for the team, and just kind of like an overarching theme a la Star Wars, like we all know. So it'll be interesting.
That is cool. That's very cool. I have no idea if this is going to work, because we're talking about having audio here, and it might play a ad or something. I don't know, but we'll take a shot at it. Are you ready?
Yep, let's do it. Do you need my Spotify?
If you want to log into Spotify and try it, I will remove this and we can try this again.
Yeah.
I will talk for a while you play with that.
You might have to tell me how to get it on there.
Well, you just you present it just like you did the thing a moment ago. You
okay.
You hit present, and then you just make sure that the audio tab is ticked so that it also will play audio, and then it should be good. I have a Spotify account, but logging into it and all on the fly is maybe not my best use of time.
Okay, so let's see. Not new layout. Video clip back. Where do I go, Dirk?
You have to bring it up as its own tab, and then go to present, and then find that tab, and then bring it up, present it on the screen, and then play it, and hopefully it will grab that audio and will play it for us.
Present. There we go. Share screen.
This is the problem of coming up with these ideas on the fly instead of wargaming it.
Yeah, well, that's okay. There we go.
It's our second episode, folks. Here we go. This is it. I'm going to add that to the stage.
We've done this for like forever, but it's been forever since we've done this. Okay.
All right,
So
hit that second song and see if it'll play for us.
All right. Are you hearing it?
I think what I'm hearing is maybe it playing on your computer.
Yeah. Let's see. How do we do this? There's got to be a way to do this. Hold on, folks. We'll figure this out. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing.
we'll figure it out in the future. I mean, we can play it later.
Yeah.
Or we can figure out a way to kind of download it and present it here through this deal.
Could play it on my phone.
We'll do it in the future.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to play a bit of it on the phone and hold it up to your microphone, that would work.
I can do that too. Hold on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's see what we can do here. Now I got to find it.
All right, I'm going to talk about my thing then. 30 years ago, I created a character and comic book called Demontowne. Demontowne is it came about because Robert and I decided we were going to do an 8-page story for an anthology comic called Rough Cut, and I was going to write it and he was going to draw it and I was going to ink it. I had maybe 10 different ideas, like 2 sentences of here's an idea. One of the ideas was a demon hunter in the Old West. And he liked that idea. So I developed it, wrote the story, drew the character so that he know what I was doing. And then he penciled it, I inked it, and it was published in Rough Cut 30 years ago, 1995. Since
95
then
was 30 years ago.
It is now. Hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
So this is a character that has been in my head, in my consciousness for a long time. Over the years, shortly after 95, even though I wasn't producing comics, because we produced a few comics together and then kind of stepped back from that and did other things. But I didn't walk away from the world of Demontowne. For about 5 years, I ran a group of friends through a role-playing campaign set in that world. It wasn't those characters, but it was that world. And so I began to develop world that way. And then I would work on that world and the characters and the situations on that over the course of the remaining time between then and now. Last year was kind of a bit of a revelation for me, in that one of my close friends passed away, and his name was Jim Lane. Might as well say it. This is a guy that I went to eat dinner with every Friday night. We have a group we call the Friday Night Crew. We go out to eat with these guys and women. We go to eat, and then we go see a movie sometimes. We used to always go see a movie. Now we go see some, like tomorrow, Captain America is going to come out. We'll go see that.
No spoilers.
Right. Jim was a little older than the rest of our group, but not that much older. And in my mind, I thought, you know what? I will be going to eat dinner with this guy for the next 20 years. Mm-hmm. That obviously is not going to happen. In addition to that, I have lost several other friends over the past 3 or 4 years. It's amazing. And some of them were around my age, and some of them were younger than me, and I'm not old.
Yeah.
Some of them considerably younger than me, like, in their early 30s and stuff. And it's like, that's insane. So that, in addition to whatever, COVID, and seeing friends pass away, and other friends not be able to draw or whatever for one reason or another,
Yeah.
because they were no longer with us, or because they weren't physically capable of drawing anymore. It made me, over the course of, basically the last half of last year, kind of reconfigure some of my priorities and what I wanted to do. And one of the things that I figured is that, instead of having a bunch of different things that don't matter so much to me, that I should really dial it in and start working on stuff that does really truly matter to me.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow is it's not a given. You don't know. I mean, I could
Not guaranteed.
walk outside and a meteor could hit me,
Yep.
I don't know what's going to happen. We could have another COVID thing come through, or we could have, whatever. Who knows? Who knows?
At this point, it's a crapshoot.
Who knows? Who knows? So you really have to, I believe, you really have to get the important stuff out, the big stuff. It's very easy for me in particular, because I write and I draw, and I do comics and illustrations. I do consultation for people on social media, and branding and all that sort of stuff. I have a lot of things that, we're doing a podcast here. That's another thing. I'm doing audiobooks like I did with Beth. I have a lot of projects, but I really needed to hone it in, really dial it in, and focus really hard on not getting buried by the little things, but focusing in on the big stuff. So late last year, while I was sick, between Thanksgiving, between Thanksgiving and New Year's, I sat down and worked on this. So this right here, you see, these are note cards. And
for a minute there, I thought it was a 5 1/4 floppy.
Right. These are note cards that I did with, and by the way, I want to sit down and talk in granular detail about what I went through here, and then compare it to whatever you go through at some point, not now, but have a plotting episode.
Yes, we need to do a plotting episode. Yes.
Because I've been doing a lot of research on different ideas about plotting, and this is the amalgamation that I came up with for this thing, and this is what I will use for future books. But basically, this right here is all of the beats of the story. So I finally nailed that down. And then I don't know if you can even see it, but there's a book in here. It's like a
Is that a notebook?
It's like a notebook, like a physical notebook, like like Indiana Jones carries around. It's got a little, like a little rubber band around it to keep it all together. And then I would write stuff.
I have on my desk.
So I would write stuff down in there for characters and settings, and just like last night I wrote I wrote a little speech by one of the characters that is going to talk to her. So I plotted this damn thing from beginning to end. It's not super complete, but it is. Someone could take it, and I made sure that my buddy Sean and my buddy Robert, the guy that I did the original story with, they both know where this is. So if I fall off a cliff and someone wants to do this story, it's here. It's done.
Well,
I still have a lot of work.
If they don't want to do it, put on there. If you guys don't want to tackle this, send it to Beth.
Right. Well,
because I know which story you're talking about, and I've been waiting for this one. I mean, come
So
on, demon hunter in the
she's a
Old
demon
West.
hunter
Oh
in the Old
yeah,
West.
yeah.
It's very much inspired by kind of it's sword and sorcery and steampunk in the Wild West with demons and a cast of thousands. It has a
Wild
I have
West.
a
It's a Wild West steampunk meets supernatural.
yeah. So it's kind of like it's very much the original. Keep in mind this was originally a comic book story, and it's very much inspired by kind of heavy metal of the early '80s, and my love of sword and sorcery. So specifically, Red Sonja or Conan, but
both excellent movies
but in the Old West.
in the Old West.
So, what I have is a plot for her origin story. And so it begins with, what happened, the inciting incident, what happens to her at the beginning. I don't want to go into that right now. And then it goes all the way up through kind of where she, it's basically a revenge tale in the spirit of kind of the man with no name and that sort of deal. It's basically her exacting revenge for, losing her husband to this demon, and she also loses her hand and her eye to this demon attack, and she spends the rest of the story hunting this demon down, and
I love the idea that you robbed her of an eye and a hand while hunting a demon, because that happens in these stories, as they should.
Right.
You didn't
right.
You didn't make her a Mary Sue. So yeah, I'm behind this 100%.
No, and let me tell you something. I am very I'm very big on. I mean, this is the book is the hero's journey. I mean, that is what I'm doing, but she's going to have to fight for everything that she has. She's not going to be great at everything she does. She is definitely not a Mary Sue. She's going to have setbacks and challenges and difficulties and character flaws, and she's going to make mistakes, and she's going to get the shit beat out of her, and but she's going to keep going, because that's a true hero, is someone who
that's the true hero story.
Who gets beaten down, but fights back. And so that's the story that I have, and that is specifically to be a novel. And then in addition to the novel, I've 30 years ago, I wrote 4 8-page comic stories.
Are you going to release them with it?
Well, I handed one of those to Sean Wilson, my buddy, about 30 years ago. And then I handed the other stories to my other friends, Robert Henry and Scott Prime. He goes by Scott Prime now. And one story for myself. Since then, I took one of those stories and dolled it up a little bit, and I gave that one to Sean. And then I wrote another one for me. So I have talked to both of those, both Robert and Sean. Sean tells me he's going to do both stories. Robert tells me that Robert Henry did his story 30 years ago. So I am inking that right now.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
So he has done his story, and I'm going to give him another story, another comic story, and it's going to be a crossover between my character and his character, Bad Candy, which is kind of a 80s horror character. With like this, he's kind of a forest spirit bad guy creature who also is hell-bent on revenge, and I'm going to pit his character against my character, and Robert's going to do the writing. I'm going to do the writing. He's going to do the artwork for that story, and then I have my own story. So anyway, I will have a novel that I work on, and several comic stories where I will do some element. I am writing all of the stories, but I will be doing art chores on some of them. It might be inking, it might be coloring, or it might be on my story. It'll be everything. I'll be doing everything on that.
I like the fact that you're rolling the novel and the comic books. You know that you're expanding the overall world. And,
I mean, the original idea was to get that character to the point where I could do the comic stories.
Mm-hmm.
But to do that, I have to tell this origin story, and that's going to require a novel. And hey, if the novel takes off, I'll continue writing the novels.
There you go.
And so I'm going to hit it from two different angles. I got comics coming out on this character, and I have a novel coming out, and I'm very excited about it. I have to release the novel that I have had in the can now for several months. I have to release that first, and then as soon as I do that, I'm going to be working on Demontowne. So there you go.
So the novel that's in the can is the sequel
to Dominatrix Boss. It's called Dominatrix Squad, and it's done. It's been locked for months.
Yes,
and I just have to do once again, because I'm also the designer, and I'm also the artist for the cover and stuff. I'm just waiting on my artist hat to take care of the book thing. And again, I'm behind on everything. I have a project that I have to get done. It's actually a piece of commissioned artwork. And then once I get past with that, my very next thing is doing the cover for Dominatrix Squad. And I'm hoping to do that. I'm hoping to do that next week. But what I hope to happen and what happens may be two different things.
Barring any unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah. I could do what everyone else does, which is either, I can't really afford to hire someone, but I could go to, Adobe stock and grab some, grab a picture or something.
You wouldn't be happy with that.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't be happy with.
That's the thing, is I just wouldn't be happy with. And since I can do it, I might as well do it. It makes my stuff automatically stand out. But in this case,
your book too. You're not under obligation to get it out at any specific time. You're on your own schedule. That's the one beautiful thing about being an indie. You're on your own schedule. So
that's true. But when I started kind of gearing this up properly, my plan was to come out with a book every 3 months. I'm not optimized for that yet, but I'm working on it.
I've been doing this for 20 years, Dirk. I'm not optimized for that, so don't feel bad.
But there are people who are doing that, though. They're doing full book.
I know.
200, 300, 400 pages every few months. It's just I have other things that I'm doing as well. And so, I'm doing the best.
And I work a full-time job and run my own business on top of it. So,
hey, when I put out my next book, go out there and buy the hell out of it, and then I can drop off some of the stuff that I'm
right?
That's the deal. Is if at some point I start making enough money off of doing the writing and stuff. Hey, the thing that I'm excited about with Demontowne is because the other stuff that I'm doing is it's erotic in nature, so it has a certain audience to it. You can't advertise it everywhere. Demontowne is, I would not say it's general audiences, but it's just it's a PG-13 or R-rated book.
It's a different audience.
I can publicize it. I can buy ad. I could put it on BookBub, or I could run Amazon ads or something. I can't run ads right now.
Yeah.
I can't push what I have. So I'm very excited about doing something that's a little bit more general audiences.
Yeah.
Not totally general. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's for kids, although I kind of believe. I kind of believe that once you hit 13, if you're a
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
a smart 13-year-old that you could probably pretty much read anything and it'd be okay. I certainly did. I was reading the Marquis
I
de
did
Sade
too.
at 13.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and
I read probably
the
one of the
story of
most
O and
controversial
all that stuff.
one of the most controversial books I think that I read as a kid was Roots, and I was
Ooh, that's a good one.
7 or 8 years old when I read it.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot of book for a
Read it.
7 or 8-year-old.
It was a lot of book, and I read it in 2 weeks flat and looked at my mother and said, "Can we go back to the library so I can get the next one?"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's
I mean,
awesome.
I read The Hobbit. I read The Hobbit at the same age. So, The
Yeah,
Hobbit and
I
all the Lord
think
of the Rings. Yeah.
I really think that, and I mean, I know that some people may disagree on this. I mean, I don't have kids, so it's easy for me to say this, but I really think that by about the age of 13, kids can handle if they had. Good God, people are not reading now enough as it is.
They're
So
not.
if
They're not.
if you've got a kid who wants to read stuff, let them read. Let them read.
Hey, I was reading to my daughter when she was still in the womb, and I read to her after she was born, and she's an avid reader. I did the same with Darren. I mean, she was pregnant with him. I was still reading it. I was reading to him.
That's
Sitting
awesome.
there, she would sit there on the edge of the bed, and I would read to him, and he would respond. And now to this day, man, he loves books. Right now, his favorite book is a book I got him all about dinosaurs. I got it for him when he was a baby, and now that he's
Yeah.
3, he's able to sit down and look at it and really get intrigued and interested in it. And he absolutely loves books. It doesn't matter what the book is. Although
It's
for a short period of time, The Grinch was not his friend, and he did not like The Grinch. They are friends. It's all good. He's made friends
it's
with the Grinch.
it's up to parents to introduce books to kids. I mean,
It is.
they
It's up to
can
parents not only to introduce them, but to also pay attention to what their kids are reading.
sure.
Okay. I mean, the sign right behind you says it all. Read banned books. People are wanting books banned because either A, they never read them, or B, they were never encouraged to read in the first place. And so they have no idea what is in the books or what their kids are even reading. If you want to, and sorry, this is a soapbox of mine, but if you want to talk about banning books, go read the book first and see if it's worth banning. Go see what's really in Lord of the Flies that makes it so horrible that you have to ban it out of schools.
Right.
I
And I
mean,
mean,
they're banning Harry Potter. Harry Potter's a fiction book. If you're going to ban Harry Potter, you might as well ban Tolkien too, and
uh,
C.S. Lewis and the whole Narnia set.
yeah, I mean, I don't
It's
understand. I think
yeah.
that I think the antidote to reading a book that is um, something you don't want someone to read is to give them a book on the opposite end of the spectrum and
Mm-hmm.
let them read that. So let them read the book you don't want them to read, and then have them read a book.
That you find is better for them
If
to
you,
read.
right, if you are just, no one should just read one book. Read a lot of books.
No,
Take
read a lot
some
of
things
books.
from it, and then read something else. Um, if
This is
you
a whole
are,
podcast topic.
I mean, it's way off topic, but I just think that I just think now, particularly now, because I don't know how many people out there reading. I can say that it's shrinking. And someone was asking me the other day if comics count as reading, and it's like,
Yes,
well, yeah,
comics do count
of
as
course they do.
reading.
Of course they do. I mean, some comics have a few things to read, and some comics are very dense with words.
Yeah.
But even if it has no words in it, it's still a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's still storytelling, and yeah, I mean, let people read whatever. If you're reading manga or something, it's very likely that you'll also pick up a book.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I love all the people that say audiobooks don't count as reading. Well, yeah, it does.
I mean, of course it does.
Okay, because you still have to put in a certain amount of attention to what you're listening to
You have to
in
build that
order
stuff in your
to,
mind, just like you do if you're
yeah,
reading it.
just like you do if you're reading it. You know, yes, you might be cleaning the house while you're listening to an audiobook, but that audiobook is still taking you someplace else. It's still taking you out of the present moment. And you still have to pay attention to it so that you don't lose track of where you are in the story. I mean, I know I'm the first one to say, you know,
I
I've
think
had
that
to
you have to
rewind a couple of
actively,
audiobooks.
right. I
You
think
have
you
to
have to
actively listen.
actively engage in an
Mm-hmm.
audiobook just like you do in a book. If
Yeah.
you zone out for 5 minutes, you're not going to know where you are in that
Nope.
story. You
And
have to
you're going
pay
to be
attention.
rewinding the
You
audiobook.
have to
Yeah.
create the worlds and the people and stuff in your mind, just like if you were reading it.
Yep.
I like reading stuff more because I'm the type of person that will go back and read a paragraph multiple times, or will
Mm-hmm.
try to pick apart the style of the writer or figure out kind of what they did. And it's more difficult to do that while you're listening to an audiobook. I guess you could rewind it and stuff, but it's it for me it's better to be able to actually read the book. But
I
I
want
have
the physical
certainly,
book in my hands.
yeah, I do too. But I don't. I mean, like my buddy Sean has gone through many books, audiobook wise, and also my friend Ronnie, and both of them do it at work or they do it on the way to
Yep.
work. They listen
Yep.
to it, and that gives them access to more books and more stories, and that's just as valid as reading them,
It is.
you know,
It is.
on your tablet or reading a legitimate, you know, something printed on
Yeah.
paper. Okay, hey, let's get to our subject for today, which is,
Yes, since we're talking about reading and who's reading.
yeah, who is reading? This might be a
Who's
shock
reading?
to you. The New York Post came out with this article a couple of weeks ago, and this is why we're here today.
Mm-hmm.
And the title of it is "Men Are Bigger Fans of Romance Than Women," a new study reveals. So let me see if I can go to this and then bring this up.
This has
There's
some really
the
interesting information in it.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. This is the New York Post,
Yeah.
but as I was talking to Beth, this was a story or a study that was commissioned by Thrift Books and conducted by Walker Research. And what they discovered is that the survey of 2,000 American romance readers revealed that 63% of men surveyed considered themselves die-hard romance enthusiasts compared to 60% of women.
But that's really kind of telling. I mean, that's over half of the men surveyed. And I like the fact that the term diehard romance enthusiasts, which means these guys they're consuming romance novels like crazy if they're enthusiasts like that. Curious enough is what kind of romance novels are they consuming?
Unfortunately, they're not saying that, but
Yeah, they didn't
that's
say that.
precisely where I went to. And I talked to
Yeah.
you about this some time ago where
Yeah.
I asked you about I ran into a category on Reddit called romance for men.
Yep.
Romance novels
Yeah.
for men. And I thought,
Romance
what?
novels for men.
I mean, are there 12 people that are doing it? Oh no. And when I started going down that rabbit hole, I found stuff that was not, they're not necessarily in this group. They're not necessarily reading Harlequin romances.
No,
They
they're not
have
reading Harlequin for
books
sure.
that are specifically written for men where the men are the protagonists and stuff, and then they have they have romantic interest or something that are kind of geared towards them. Now in this case, I will also say that I think they're suggesting that men are reading romance novels that are written predominantly for women.
Probably, especially in so in my mind, I'm thinking some of these men are probably reading sci-fi romance because that seems to be a big draw. I mean, I've got a sci-fi romance out, and probably about half of the people who have purchased Beyond the Steps of Stone have been men. It was my
There you
dad
go.
loved that book. That was my dad's favorite. He absolutely adored that book. And the other thing that I'm wondering if some of these men are reading the shifter novels.
Right.
Or if not shifter novels, they're reading novels with extremely strong male presences. So maybe the mafia kind of novels, or some of the motorcycle club ones that I've read kind of go either way. They can either be really kind of non-aggressive or really super aggressive. So I'm thinking these are probably some of the more prominent categories these men are reading. I can't see them reading fluffy second chance
I would love
romances.
to know it. This might be an opportunity if you're somewhat. I mean, I'm not sure exactly who our listeners are, but I presume that a lot of them are writers, or some of them may be readers. But if you're a writer and you hear this and you're like, wait a minute, have I left half of my audience, underserved?
Exactly.
It might open up some avenues for you if you go down the rabbit hole a little bit and look at what's out there. There may be a genre or a style of writing the book that maybe you hadn't considered. I know that I haven't written the 146 books that you've written, but
11, Dirk, 11.
What the book that I wrote, I can tell you that I have a lot of women readers, and I would say most of my readers are women. And what I heard from them made me modify the way that I wrote the next book. The next book, instead of being written from the man's perspective, I went back and forth. Each chapter, one chapter's is from the man's perspective.
You did the dual point of view.
I did. And I did that specifically so that both both people would feel like they were being served in the book. And it also opened up a lot of avenues for the way that I could describe things, from two different angles. So it really worked out exceptional. And I can tell you that I've had both men and women read this, and it's interesting how much they say that the women say, I appreciate you writing this in the women's perspective here. They said that I did a good job with it. They sympathize with the character more. And from both sides of the spectrum, they say they appreciate the insight. Like they kind of feel like they maybe gained a little insight into not just the character, but that kind of, because it's dominant and submissive, it gives them kind of the mindset of those characters in a way that maybe the first book didn't. So I've already kind of backed into doing this before I heard this study. And in addition to that, when I did the research, I noticed that there was someone who was killing it by doing a romance novel series for men, also strangely enough set in the Old West, but it had multiple female love interests, and they were like elves and all kinds of weird. So it was like a fantasy Old West, and they would, in the promotional stuff for this book, they would have these AI generated images of these different love interests and would give you their profile and the pictures of them
Mm-hmm.
in the description for the novel. And I thought, knowing how visually stimulated
Yeah.
men are, if you said, if men are into romance novels or something, you say, here are the 4 love interest in this thing, and you've got pictures of them. That is very good marketing. And I can say that you can, there are ways of looking
Yeah.
on Amazon
Yeah.
to see how these things are doing. This book is doing really, really well. That this guy is doing, that this guy is, and it wasn't just
He's
one
got
book;
his
it's multiple
finger.
books. He's got it. He's
Got his
working
finger
it.
on this. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Um,
it's just like with the romance covers, for women, they've always been the, you know, they were, well, back in the 80s and the 90s, they were referred to as bodice rippers,
sure,
and
yeah, the
most,
Fabio
you
days.
knew it was, yeah, it was the Fabio days. You knew it was a romance novel. You knew there was smut involved if Fabio was on the front of the cover.
Right.
And nowadays you've got romance authors that use what they refer to as discrete covers. I am not one of them.
Yeah. Right. And here, let me also back that up with the new genre, which is, I mean, this is not going to be a revelation to anyone who's listening to this, but they call it romantasy, where
Romanticism.
it's
Yep.
yeah, where it's heavily it's a romance novel, but it's also heavily fantasy novel. And
Yes,
strangely
which
enough, I
thank
just
you.
mentioned Ronnie earlier. Ronnie is reading one of those. I cannot remember, but it was the biggest book
Oh,
last year.
Onyx
Uh,
Storm, or I think that's the third book in the
no, it's like a
series.
song. And it's like a song of
Oh yeah, the other one.
something
The
or
other one.
other.
The
I
one
don't
with
know. I can't.
the one with the very George R. Martin
It's not a
title.
song of ice and fire or whatever.
No,
It was.
but the title's
It's
so much.
something of
Yeah,
vine and something or other,
yeah,
which
yeah.
has one of those demure covers that you're talking about. It just basically
Yes.
has,
Yes.
but my friend Ronnie read that, and I asked him. I said, you just read a romantasy book. What did you think of it? He said it was very good. He said he
Yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Of
So
course, you
there's
mentioned Old West and elves, and my brain went, Thranduil with a
yeah,
cowboy hat on. Thank you,
yeah.
but I could see it.
uh, I think that this is kind of an interesting revelation.
It
Let,
is. It is, because I think for the longest time it was always just, romance novels were for women, sci-fi was for men.
yeah,
And as a lover of sci-fi, I've always been a sci-fi reader, and I'm like, what do you mean sci-fi is for men? I mean, one of the very first books I remember reading was Dune. You can't get much more sci-fi than that.
for sure. Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. But we talk many times. We probably talk many times more about Farscape. One of the things
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
attracted me to Farscape the most was the romance that was between. I mean, actually, there were several
Between John
romances
and
that
Aaron.
happened, but
Yeah, between John
particularly
and
between John
Aaron,
and Aaron. Yeah,
Dargo and
I mean, that's the one that I
Dargo and
wanted.
Chiana.
I
Yeah.
really wanted the happy ending on that, desperately. And if it didn't have that element, I would not have enjoyed that series half as much. I wanted that romantic angle. I mean, that's a science fiction, a story.
I did
But
I
as
did
a
the
dude,
whole
I loved the romance there.
yeah. I did the whole fan fiction thing with Farscape, and of course,
Yeah,
my attraction was the bad boy villain, Craze. And I gave him the sci-fi romance.
yeah.
And
Which that's great.
that's what people were they were eating it up, and I actually did
Now
have some
people are going to
guys
be
following
emailing
me.
you for that story.
If they wait long enough, they might actually get it in an original version. That's a conversation for later.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. Let me show
Yeah,
some of these other graphics.
Steve Shank will be the one that emails me going, "Hey,
Oh
did you write
man,
any more?"
Steve is gonna go. Yeah, Steve's gonna go nuts.
He's trying to get me to write more Highlander. Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh! I mean, does he realize that you're a professional author and that you have to make
Yes, he
money?
knows. Oh, yeah, he knows.
Let me throw a few more of these things up here. There's the deal. 2,000 American romance readers reveal that 63% of men consider themselves die-hard romance enthusiasts, compared to 60% of women. So if you're not, if you're a writer and you're not thinking about the men out there, you might be missing some of your audience.
Yeah,
I think that's fascinating.
Definitely.
Here's another deal. Least favorite tropes. 23% say love triangles, which is
Man, they're
interesting.
so hard to write. They're hard to write. They really are hard to write.
Why is that?
It's the juggling aspect and trying to make sure that you have your main female character or main male character. I mean, it'd be hard to tell which way you want to go with this. Pick the right person and make it believable.
Right.
That's the big thing, is you've got to make it believable. And a lot of love triangle ones that I've read that haven't been menage a trois aren't necessarily all that believable.
Right.
Or it has been weak in the belief department. They could have, it could have been a more convincing reason why she chose guy A over guy B, or why guy B chose guy C instead of her, so yeah.
They also have listed on this office romances and fake dating scenarios. My story is called Dominatrix Boss. That is an office romance. So there you go.
Office romance.
Yeah. Let's see. Here are the favorite tropes. Obviously they allowed you to choose several things here because that does not add up. Number one,
these numbers do not add up.
These do not add up, not for percentage wise. Number one is forbidden romance. So they're not supposed to. They're not supposed to. That's interesting. Friends to lovers. That's interesting. And enemies to lovers. So there's your three favorite tropes.
Yeah, friends to lovers and enemies to lovers. A lot of mine are, a lot of my contemporary are friends to lovers, like second chance romances.
Yeah.
Enemies to lovers, man, for me, that is a hard one to write. Because I don't hate anybody that much. What's the reason?
I could write that.
You probably could. I bet you could.
That's interesting to me. That's interesting to me.
You could take your demon hunter and she falls in love with the demon.
Well, I don't want to give anything away.
But I hit on something there. Okay.
Maybe in the second or third book we'll address that. There is a little bit of a, I mean, in the first book she's out for revenge and she just lost her husband. She's not looking for a romantic relationship, but I do introduce someone in there that will become potentially a romantic partner down the road.
Nice.
So here's what respondents ranked for the things that they liked the most, the most important characteristics of a good romance book. 49% said good character development. So don't ever
development. Yeah.
Let me tell you something. If you don't have good character development, if you don't have characters that people love in your book, you might as well forget it. You could have a terrible plot. You could have tropes that they don't like. You could have a really thin circumstances or whatever. If you don't have good characters, that's going to kill your book. There's no doubt about it.
You
Characters
need to
drive
have good
everything.
characters and good worlds. Yeah, good characters and good world building are really the two big
I can
things
think of a lot of books where I wasn't completely enamored with the plot or what was going on or whatever, but I loved the characters. And so I
Yeah.
just kept going on it. That will definitely drive your traffic. People will forgive a lot if they like your characters. 33% said they liked realistic dialogue.
Realistic dialogue. Yep. Yep. That's something I try very hard to keep in my books. I mean, Saint Pierre is a perfect example. I usually don't either. Saint Pierre is a perfect example of the realistic dialogue. And especially if you're writing historical romance and you want to try and keep your dialogue within your time frame.
Yeah, that's
it enhances the story. It's not easy, but it does enhance the story.
Sure it does.
Yeah, like I was talking about, Warders of the Ryujin. I mean, during the shogunate time, I mean, they allude to sex as being pillowing. And for that particular time, that would have been realistic dialogue. That would have been a realistic conversation. So between having good, strong characters, in well-developed worlds with realistic dialogue, you're well on, the way to having a great book.
Sure. The third one they mentioned is ample romance moments. So they
romance moments.
They like
romance.
They I mean, if it's going to be a romance book, they want whatever however you determine romance moments.
0 to 5.
That might, right. So depending on what your book is and what your focus is, people want romance in your romance novels. You got to give it to them.
Oh yeah, your smut doesn't have to be super smutty. It doesn't be, but it doesn't have to be.
I mean, I talk about those Hallmark romances. There's one kiss at the end, one kiss only, but there's plenty of romantic moments where
and it's the building,
the characters do things for each other, and you can see the things that touch the other person and stuff. You got to put that stuff in there.
Mm-hmm. You have to build that romance. You have to just slowly build it up and get it in there.
I think this is interesting. And I have some other stuff. I have some other stuff that I want to talk about on this, but I don't have graphics for it. This is who readers imagine as the love interest while they're reading the romance novel. 17% said that married readers picture their spouse. 21% of respondents admitted to having envisioned their celebrity crush. And 7% of readers even revealed that they generally imagine their ex.
Probably in a bad light. I find it interesting that the highest number is the celebrity crush. I can see how easy that would be, knowing how I write my novels. I mean, Beyond the Steps of Stone, Jericho in my head looks like Michael Fassbender. I was talking about the main male character for Warders of the Ryujin being Hiroyuki Sanada in my head. So I can see it.
I was going to go into I thought I captured the celebrity crushes, but apparently I didn't. It's interesting to see, because depending on whether it's
I've got it here.
You do? Okay, good.
Yeah. Angelina Jolie at 26%, Megan Fox at 21%, Zendaya at 20%, Selena Gomez at 19%, and Scarlett Johansson is at 19%. I'm surprised ScarJo is not higher.
I'm surprised that, and nothing against Angelina Jolie, I'm surprised she's so high. That says to me,
she used to be
that reader, and again, nothing against her, but that suggests to me that the readers who responded on this thing were a little older, generally.
Yeah. And they might be also thinking Angelina Jolie a la Lara Croft.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, yeah, whoever she was back in the 90s or the early 2000s.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, that's
Lara
what I
Croft
would say, like
the
from
Tomb Raiders.
Wanted,
I mean, that's when she looked
or whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah,
for sure. And I mean, Zendaya has to be the Gen Z predominantly.
She's Gen Zers. Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely the Gen Z.
That's interesting. What are the guys?
The guys is Channing Tatum at 26%.
Also a little older crowd there. Yeah. Also an older crowd.
Brad Pitt at 22.
I mean, Brad Pitt's almost 60.
Yeah, still looks good.
No, I mean, again, nothing against Brad. I love Brad Pitt.
I love Brad. I wouldn't kick him out of my bed.
And Channing Tatum. 20. See, now that's got to be a millennial. That's got to be a millennial pick.
Ryan Reynolds at 19%.
Okay, that's no surprise. And that might be he might be cross generation, Ryan Reynolds, because he's still very right. I mean, he's been around. He's been around both early on and more recently and stuff. So.
Yeah. And then Chris Evans at 17%.
Yeah. A lot of Marvel heroes on there.
A lot of Marvel heroes on that. Technically, all 5 of them are a Marvel hero because Brad Pitt played the invisible guy in the Deadpool movie.
In Deadpool, yep. He was on X-Force.
He was part of X-Force.
Yep.
And Channing Tatum in Deadpool versus Wolverine played Remy LeBeau.
Yeah, Gambit. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I really like Channing Tatum. I feel like Channing Tatum should be in more stuff. But it's very interesting to see who people picture. A lot of blonde-haired dudes in that.
Yeah.
Hemsworth is a blonde.
Reynolds is the only one that's not.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Some of the
then there's
popular romance novel recommendations from the survey included modern reads such as The Notebook, It Ends With Us, and 50 Shades of Grey, which, by the way, is a terrible book, as well as classic titles like Gone with the Wind, Pride and Prejudice, and Wuthering Heights. So
Wuthering Heights is one of my favorites.
I think it's very interesting that you had a blend of new stuff and old stuff. People are still reading the classics.
Yeah. And Wuthering Heights is not an easy book to read. It's well written, very descriptive, not easy to read, but still such a good story. And again, here's a book with no smut.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. They say on average, readers said that they can tell if they like or dislike a romance novel 33 pages in. However, Gen Z will stick it out the longest of all generations and read 45 pages of a book before they throw in the towel. That's interesting. Because I would think that their attention span would be less. Like they would say, give it to me now or forget it. But that it's the opposite of that.
No, that's Gen Xers. We Gen Xers, we want our story now. We want our story.
I am a very big proponent of. I'm a very big proponent of getting it going. I kind of take the James Bond approach to stuff where you have him, you have a car chase at the very beginning of the thing to kind of get things kicked off.
Take every single one of the Mission Impossible movies with Tom Cruise. There's some action scene that kicks off the movie and sets the tone for every movie.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed is going back and watching those movies from when we were teenagers, and in our early 20s, like The Last Samurai, and just, Star Wars. Come on, man, Star Wars. You start off with a space cruiser coming at you. Okay.
Yeah.
These are movies that we as Gen Xers absorbed, and so we want in right now. We want our action right now. We want that immediate gratification of what's going to happen right now. So I noticed that the Gen Xers were the last one in that list. 46% are most likely to kick it out. I mean, the fact that boomers last longer than us Gen Xers say something right there.
I don't know who said this. It was a famous author said that, I believe it was a man, said that he writes his book like someone is holding the book over the trash while they're reading it in that first chapter. And so they try to get you hooked as quick as possible so that they will continue to read. I know that
I feel like
I can tell quickly if I'm going to like something. It could be Stephen.
Oh, same here.
I have started many books that have never made it past the first chapter because I am not a fast reader.
Yeah.
I'm reading a book right now that is, I swore I would never read I don't think I'm going to say who the author is. I swore that I would never read this author again. And then I decided I would give this author a second chance. But I read a book that was 600 pages, which is, like I said, I'm not a fast reader. 600 pages takes a while. And I mean, plenty of things happened in it, but there was no character arc. The character was exactly precisely the same at the beginning and the end of the book. No one else was. There were no other character arcs that were in this thing, and there's no plot. So you have no character arc and you have no plot. Speaking of James Bond was the exact same character at the beginning of the thing at the end, but they had a plot. Jack Reacher is the exact same dude. I've read many Jack Reacher books, and he is Jack Reacher every damn time. He never moderates who he is or how he.
Alex Cross books are the same way.
Still the same character at the beginning and the end of the book. They don't move, but they have a plot. They have a mystery, or they have a, you have to, there's something that compels you forward. This guy does not write, the guy that I'm talking about, that I'm not going to name, doesn't
you're not going to name,
have a plot or character arcs in his book. But I can see, but he's a very popular writer, and I can see why people read the books, because they're fun. So he's at least offering that. But I'm almost reading it now to kind of learn what not to do.
Oh,
like
I
always read stuff and I'm like, oh man, I should not do this in books, because this is driving me bonkers. But you read the reviews of stuff and people are like, oh, I had such a blast reading this book and all kinds of stuff. So, what compels one person, won't necessarily compel another. I want it all. I want the plot. I want the character development. I want the good dialogue. I want themes and symbolism. I want the whole thing. Give it all to me.
I had someone give me a 1-star review on Seduced by the Billionaire, because they didn't like, they felt that how I wrote my characters' interactions with paparazzi wasn't, it was, she didn't feel it was realistic. And that, having to defend themselves because he's a billionaire and she's his horse trainer, having to defend your love affair, in 2023, because you're from different classes, is unrealistic.
That's absurd.
No,
I can give you an example of that in reality. What about Prince Harry? He has to
exactly. Princess Diana. Look at what happened to Princess Diana. and the
That
paparazzi.
that was
Okay.
that was something that they talked about endlessly. I got another one for you. There is a Bill Belichick, who is a famous
Yes.
coach, is dating
Yeah.
someone who's 24 years old. So there's the age thing, but there's also, I mean, he's wealthy and famous, and he has to
Mhm.
defend their relationship constantly. What is that
Yeah.
person talking about?
I don't know, because right now the book's got 3.5 stars on it, and everybody who's read it has been like, yeah, they're whacked. Don't know what, the book was
You
great.
can't, and you can't look. My advice to you as a social media manager is do not respond under any circumstances
Oh, no, I
to
laugh at it every time I see
reviews
it.
that people make, even if they're inane, because there's just no way
Yeah.
that you're going to win this thing. You look
No, there's not.
petty,
There's
and
not.
you look um, thin-skinned when you defend this stuff, and you just give stupid arguments air
Yeah.
by arguing about it. So you know people people make stupid people have stupid
What's
reasons
the
for
old
not giving
saying?
you a good rating.
What's the old saying? Bad publicity is still good publicity.
Sure, yeah, for sure. And don't get in a
I've
mud
had
fight.
I've don't
Don't
get
get
into a
in a
mud
mud
fight.
fight
Yeah.
with a pig, because the
Yep.
pig you're going to get dirty, and the pig
You're gonna get
enjoys it.
dirty. Yep. I have told a lot of authors who I've seen, on different social media platforms, they're like, "Oh my God, they give me a 1 star. Why?" And I don't understand it. And I've told them, don't respond, let it go.
No, you
Because
just
there's going to be
can't.
people.
I've seen
There's
writers get
going to be
into.
people that's going to see that 1 star and be like, "Well, why'd they give it 1 star?" And go
uh,
read your book anyway.
I'm going to say something that might be a little controversial. That 1 star review is helpful to you,
Yeah, it
because
is.
then
It is, and I've told people that.
people know, that, I mean, obviously multiple 1 star reviews is not great, but at least they
Right.
know that all of the reviews on there are not manufactured, because
Exactly.
someone has been critical of the book. And frankly, if you only have 5 star reviews, that is not that
Yeah.
is not realistic.
It's not realistic. It's not.
No,
And
no.
people, as humans, we have a curious nature. So people are going to be like, "Well, why did this person give you a 1 star review? I want to read this book. I want to find out why."
Yeah,
And
sometimes people have complained about things that I thought, you just sold me some more books, because the thing that
Mhm.
disturbed you, other people will love.
Yep,
So
exactly.
don't take either the glowing reviews or the bad reviews to heart.
Exactly.
You know, because
Exactly.
you it's just not, you don't want to get too big of a head, and you don't want to get crestfallen over something that doesn't really
Yeah,
matter all that much. The fact that people are
exactly.
giving you reviews
Exactly.
is a good thing. The more reviews you get, the better it is for you.
It's better.
So,
Yep.
and honestly, if there's some people that don't connect with your book, that means that you're saying something. That means that there's some
Oh yeah.
substance to the book.
Yeah.
If everyone loves your book, then you're not saying, I mean, come on. You're not
No,
saying
you're not
anything
saying
if everyone
you're
universally
not
loves your
saying
book.
anything. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just no way. If you take a side or have a stance on something, there's going to be people that just don't agree with you. So, and
Yep.
that's okay. That's all right. But
Hey,
yeah, I've read things.
that is
I have read things, multi-thread discussions, arguments
mhm.
between someone who writes a bad review and an author, and the author never comes off good.
No, they don't.
You
They
look like
don't.
an idiot. Even if you're right, you look like an idiot. Let other people
There's a guy
defend
on
you.
there's a guy on Threads right now who, because the reviewer misnamed his book by accident,
Right?
he tore her to shreds up one side and down the other and was nasty, and the things that he was calling her were
Why
uncalled
would you do
for.
that?
And she posted it all over threads. He started stalking
Yeah,
her. He was
yeah.
sending her direct messages. She posted it all over threads, and of course the writer, we're a pretty tight community, the author community, and of course we're all like, no, you're not, no. This is a reviewer. She took the time to read your book. She took the time to
Yeah,
leave this
you need
wonderful
professional
review, and you're going
reviewers.
to, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Nothing wrong with saying, look, you misspelled the name on the thing, especially if they can correct it. But
yeah.
but
I had one
be super
reviewer
professional and be
be
kind about it.
professional. Yeah.
I mean,
I I
you
had
know,
one reviewer, she left me a 2-star review and DNF'd um The Legend of Captain St. Pierre. And she explained exactly why she DNF'd it and everything. And it turned out I had uploaded the wrong copy of the book
oh,
to the site where she got it
right,
from.
right.
And she was like, if the author, updates this, I will go back in and finish it and
I see.
give a better review. And that was the one review I responded to, and I said, hey, thanks, I appreciate it. You were right. I did upload the wrong copy. I'm in the process of fixing everything and re-editing because now I can't find the edited copy.
Oh,
So
wow.
lost it when my hard drive crashed.
Oh, no.
Um yeah, that so I said I appreciate it. Thank you so much for pointing this out. Something like that is helpful. And I've had a lot of people ask me, well, should I contact the author? Well, it depends on how many mistakes you're finding. If you're finding a plethora of mistakes, don't leave a bad review. Reach out to the author and say, hey, I was reading your book and I noticed some mistakes. I thought I'd let you know about them. And then move on.
Yeah.
That's the way to handle it. If you're reading a book and you're finding all these mistakes, because editors are human too, even professional editors,
Yep.
who are editing 30, 40
I mean, I read
books, a week, a month, yeah.
books that are released by major publishers that have mistakes in them. And I mean,
Oh, and
there are multiple
the
ways
whole
to check
indie
a book now,
authors.
but it
Yeah.
happens still.
The
It
whole
happens
indie
still.
authors are horrible because of all of the mistakes in their book. Indie authors shouldn't be read. I have read, published books, books published by major
For sure.
publishers that have been horrible with the editing and the grammar and the punctuation and everything else. And and I edit for indie authors, and I've seen indie authors who are so far on their game that I might have 2 or 3 things to say. I've had a couple where I've had to go in and correct every comma splice, or actually add some commas because they don't. You know, if the story is solid, the grammar mistakes, the punctuation mistakes, those are easily rectified. Don't slam an author because you find them. Don't slam an indie author because you find them. Because guess what?
I do weird
Major
things with
published
comments from
authors have
time to
mistakes.
time
I've
because I want to emphasize something, or I want you to pause somewhere that that's not appropriate.
at one point in time, I had one author who didn't put enough commas in her books, and I had another author who put too many commas in her books. And I used to tell them, I'm taking the commas from her book and I'm putting them in your book. You guys need to share the love.
You're going to equal out.
And I tell my authors before I start editing a book, if I'm reading your book and your dialogue or your prose suddenly starts sounding like Captain Kirk, I'm going to send it back to you to fix before I go any further.
I had a deal where, and I do this, especially in scenes where characters are trying to be, truthful or honest or something, where a friend of mine said they're saying their name too often. Like you wouldn't say their name as often. And so I
Hmm.
watchdogged that a
Yeah.
little bit because I felt like I probably did do that. But sometimes when I'm trying to, give someone a heart to heart, I would say, "Hey, Beth, let me tell you about this important thing about, whatever."
Yep.
So I might use your name to kind of dial in on the moment,
Yes.
but
Yes.
that's one of the funny things that you kind of have to think about when you're editing these things,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
Is there anything else that you want to add about the men with romance novels?
I really just want to know what they're reading. I
I
really
do
want to
too.
know what
I would love to
subgenre
know
of
that too.
romance novels they're reading.
You know,
That's my big question.
maybe we should we could go down the rabbit hole a little bit because the people who originally published this, we might not be getting all of it. It was what
Oh, we
was
may not be. Yeah.
Thrift Books. It was commissioned by Thrift Books. There might be more information here that they're not talking about, because I would very much like to know what men are reading too, so that I can, reach out to that community. I may be missing them myself.
Well, there's
When
also, it says on under the methodology, it said it was conducted online by Talker Research between January 2nd and January 8th of 2025. So this is really
recent,
recent. Yeah.
yeah, I
Oh,
love
well,
this sort of
there's
thing.
5 comments in here. Let's see what.
You were talking.
Man, some of the comments are just yeah. There's 3 comments on here. 2 of them are from what I'm going to presume are gentlemen just man bashing the whole thing. Wow. Okay. Sure.
I have a
Because,
lot of men.
reading romance novels isn't manly,
I
apparently.
have right. I have a lot of male friends that are also very much softies who might enjoy that sort of thing. I think that this opens up a lot of um yeah, a lot of good thoughts, things to, maybe follow up on a little bit. But I
Oh,
would
here
very
we
much
go.
like
I like
that.
this one. This is from the version of the article that was in the Toronto Sun. To create that ideal romance reading session, readers said their top must-haves were a cozy blanket, 65%, a snack,
That's a lot.
46%, and a quiet house all to themselves, 41%. Don't disturb me
I
when I'm
can
reading.
read I can read kind of in a a snow not a snowstorm. I can read in a tornado if I have to. I don't have to have
Same
the
here.
perfect situation.
Yeah.
I kind
Yeah.
of it's for me it's more about kind of reading the same time every day, kind of taking time to do it. If I get into that habit, then I read quite a bit, but
Yeah.
still not fast. I'm still not fast.
I've always been a fast reader, but I appreciate people who don't read fast because you take your time reading it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little bit of analysis that I go through on stuff, particularly if I like it. If I really like it, then there's a lot of analysis and I
Yeah.
really slow down. I really slow
Yeah.
down.
I slow
Um,
down when I'm reading nonfiction. It's because I'm usually taking notes for some reason or another.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm the type of person that really likes, particularly if I have a physical book, to highlight stuff. And I mean, I've even
Yeah.
gone through, I talked about, I'd like to go through my plotting process. I've read so many books on plotting. Oh yeah. I
Hmm.
have some of those. I have some of
I've
those
got,
doodads.
these are with the copy of, know, the 5 rings of. I I can tag him and because he'll shoot me if I highlight in his book.
Right. Yeah.
So
When I was doing the plot stuff, I have a notebook where I was taking notes.
yeah,
So I have
yeah.
I have notes on plot on different plotting books, all in one notebook, which is kind of cool.
I like that's a good idea.
Also, earlier you mentioned having a computer crash and losing some stuff. I think it'd be neat to do a episode on backing up your stuff.
Yes, yes,
for creatives, not just for writers, but also for, if you are an artist or you do anything, man, you got to back stuff up. You don't want to learn that the hard way.
Oh God, no.
Look, all right. Well,
I remember, like I said, I remember the days of 5 1/4 floppies. Okay. And I remember how devastated I was when I had put 3.5 hours into typing up a manuscript of some weird story I was working on as a teenager.
Yep.
Only to lose it because there was a sector on the 5 1/4 floppy that was bad.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I go back that far.
They didn't have automatic. They didn't have automatic saves back then either.
And if you closed it and you forgot to save it, you were SOL. So
I know that
we need to do an episode on why you need to be anal about backing up your work.
I have a lot of thoughts on that subject because I have stuff like, for example, the book that I just plotted. I have it in a few places. So, and I told people about where it is too. Anyway, I have some very good thoughts on that subject, and we'll handle that another time.
There's a reason why I still have a read-write disk drive on my computer.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, Beth, why don't we bring it home and tell us, besides all of the books we went over, if they want to follow you, where should they go?
If you want to follow me, you can find me on Facebook. You can also follow my website, bethanfreely.com. You can follow my business website, themusesfunhouse.com, especially if you're looking for any editing or website services, which Dirk kind of helps me out with some of that. You can find me on the usual places, Threads, Twitter, Instagram, all at BA Freely. I am on Blue Sky. Don't know what that one is because that's new, but if you look up Beth A Freely or Beth Ann Freely, you'll find me. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
You see the Muses Funhouse there. She mentioned that I help her out. If you're looking for social media management or you're looking for an author brand, I specialize in that. I've done that for about the last 15 years professionally.
Mm-hmm.
So I can help you out on both of those things. Yep. And obviously I do design and artwork as well. And I'm so busy doing that I can't design and do the artwork on my own book. But I also, but I do that for, I'll do that for people too. And you can get in touch with me through the Muses Funhouse right there. That it just coming up on the bottom of the screen, themusesfunhouse.com. If you're interested in me doing that, or like she said, if you want to do websites or editing, then Beth is ready to help you out on that.
And if you can't get a hold of Dirk, get a hold of me, and I'll get a hold of Dirk for you.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that goes the opposite way too. I'm happy to get you in touch with Beth if you need to. Since I only have one book, there it is, called Dominatrix Boss. It's written under my pen name by Asher Lake, and I have another book coming out on that soon. And then I have a couple of places for you to go. Writeworks.dirkhooper.com, which is my general writing thing. I do some articles and stuff, and I'm going to be doing more again once I get caught up. I just put out something on there not too terribly long ago. Asherlake.net is for the Dominatrix Boss stuff, and I do social media stuff through Sexy Networking. So you can also get in touch with me on there. That's it, folks. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap this up?
The only thing I want to add is if there's a topic that you would like to hear us cover for any sort of books,
idea.
book writing, creative, art, anything like that, reach out to us on our social media and we'll make it happen for you.
Yeah, I need to put my social media up on there. You mentioned Blue Sky. Yes, that's a whole other subject. But
subject.
Yeah, I'm also on Blue Sky. You can find me anywhere at Dirk Hooper. DIRKHOOPER. Yep. That's a good way of finding me. And it's, most of my things are for adults. So if you're offended by such things, then just, stick to the other things. But if not, then you can find me there. The next time we get together, we'll probably pick one of these deals. I'd like to talk either about one of the things that we talked about or maybe something else. I think asking people to send us topics they want us to talk about is a great idea too. We also will do interviews with people.
Yes.
We are anxious to talk to people who are both authors and people who are doing peripheral stuff, whether that's you're a cover model,
photography,
you do design,
covers, you're a cover model,
you do advertising, whatever. We want to talk to you about that too. That's it. That's all we got, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in today, and we will be back. I promise I will stay healthy, and we will be back soon. So
take care, everyone.
This is Dirk Hooper saying, dream hard.